then you can take enrollment management and academic advising and this, and some of the administration courses. You can tailor the courses that you want to take based on what you want to use the degree for. Okay, so the next thing is that then you get to the electives. Well, the electives can either come from other higher education courses that you didn't take, or you can branch out and take some other non-higher education online graduate programs. Okay, let me tell you that the outliers and the negative things initially. I had some people ask about taking a language. We have found out from the graduate school that because language courses are all undergraduate, we cannot count those in the graduate program. So languages are out, unfortunately. The other thing is that I think if you wanted to get another formal certificate, you could do okay, but basically the College of Business does not work and play well with others. They do not let our students take one course. So if you want project management and stuff like that, we need to look a little broader for that sort of stuff. But there are courses in adult ed, in psychology, in women's studies, in social media, in learning design, in distance education, in public administration. So I do not have a list of approved electives because almost anything would work if you could explain why. So I was telling someone the other day, if you wanted to be a dean of students in a college of dentistry and there was something about dentistry that made sense for you to take as a course, I would probably be okay with that. So it's a matter of coming up with a coherent set of courses for what you want to use the MED for. Now, so it's very, very flexible. That is simultaneously exciting and frightening because I don't have a list of electives for you to choose from. But that's why we talk. Okay, so, and I believe I told you in the first initial advising call, and Abby, this can be is that this is the beginning of the conversation. We go through this as we go, across your time in the program. So you'll fill out this form that Fred and Allie have in 490. Part of the reason for this form is, and like Fred says, it's tentative. It does not lock you into anything, okay? But part of my problem when I came on is we were ramping up, and it's not just knowing what you want to take when, but me having some sense of, do 50 students want to take legal issues in the fall, or do 10 students want to take legal issues in the fall? So I can have some sense of planning for how many instructors I'm going to need, how many sections I'm going to need, stuff like that. So that's why we're working on, and it's actually a research program of one of the tenure track faculty, John Cheslock, to figure out how we can create tools that are internally useful for this program, talk to you, help you as a student. And we're trying to build in some of the nudge stuff. Have any of you read the book on nudge? So like when the time comes, you might get an email that says, look, on your thing that you filled out, the form you filled out last year, you said that you wanted to take legal issues in fall 2017. Is this, if this is still true, don't forget to go out and sign up for it, or something like that. Now, if you don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But it's so we can get some automated sort of things going on here. Before I go into the capstone, are there any questions about what I've covered so far? Okay. Yep. Go ahead. Okay. I guess that wasn't a question. All right. Oh, the other thing I keep getting asked a lot this time in this set of advising calls is how many courses to take. And most of our folks in the program, because they're working adults, take either one course or two courses. Now, what goes into this is that how are you getting support? if you're getting federal financial aid, I'm pretty sure you need to maintain 2 courses. But then again, I'm not a financial aid expert, so you have to clarify that with the World Campus financial aid people. If you're getting employer reimbursement or Penn State reimbursement, usually if you're at a college or university, they're just fine with you taking 1 course at a time, but you need to clarify with them what you need to do to maintain that level of support, okay? So make sure you do that. But from the program's perspective, we're just fine with you going through 1 course at a time, 2 courses at a time. If you and then the third thing that comes into this sort of calculus of how many courses do you take is your actual job. So people who are admissions counselors and who drive all around their regions in the fall tend to take only 1 course in the fall and maybe 2 courses in the spring and the summer. People who are coordinating and running the summer orientations on their college campuses don't take summer courses. They take a lot of courses in the fall and spring. So it kind of depends on what you do. If you're already, which most of you are, working on campus, what do you do? So the other thing that I wanted to say is that you can take a term off. That's perfectly fine. If you take summer off, you don't have to do anything. If you take fall or spring off, then you have to do what's a piece of bureaucratic paperwork, electronic paperwork called doing a resume study. And that is just fine. If you decide to do that, don't think you're going to get away from me and stop out and go away, because I have your email addresses and your phone numbers, and I follow up with everybody. So how about that? And Allie will start helping me follow up. So, but that's just fine. So I've had some people recently, they were women who had babies, and so they took a couple of terms off. I've got some other people who are moving. I got military folks who are either in the midst of a deployment or changing over from a deployment. So if those things are coming along in your life, don't fret about that. We can certainly work with you about that. Questions about any of that? Okay. All right, the capstone seminar. This is the most scary class ever in the entire program. No, it's not. I am the instructor for the capstone, and like I said, it is your culminating experience. For the purposes of the graduate school and for conference of a graduate degree, you have to have a culminating element, which in our case, we call it the scholarly paper. It's 15 to 20 pages. It's on a higher education topic of your choosing. When you get into the capstone, one of the things you can either do is you can look at, well, I have you review all of the papers you've written while you've been in the program, both in the higher ed and non-higher ed courses. Look at your writing, things like that. Choose a topic. It can be a paper that you've already started and written on in another course, or it can be a completely new, different higher education topic where you want to go. The only thing is if you pick a whole new topic, you have to have basically 3 to 5 pages of a rough draft written out for the first draft when it gets submitted, okay? So we put you into peer review groups, and you and your paper go through 2 cycles of review with your peer review group and me as the instructor reading your stuff. And you also read your peers' papers and give feedback. So you learn how to be a good reviewer, how to and that it's much more than just looking at grammar and APA formatting, that it's substantive, where, what I have had a lot of students actually this term who are like, well, I don't know anything about the topic they're writing about. And that's just fine, because A, you learn more about a topic you didn't know anything about, and B, people, when you write about something, it better make sense to people who don't know anything about the topic. And so that's why it's perfectly fine for people to read stuff who don't know anything about your topic. So don't feel inadequate or anything like that. So anyway, it goes through 2 cycles of review, and then you turn in your final paper. They've just turned in the final paper last night, Sunday night, sorry. And then a second faculty member, and in this case it's Fred, reads it and also scores the final paper. The other thing you do, so that's the big piece of the capstone. You do reflections on what you felt like when you were doing the reviews, because I know you haven't really done reviews before, and that's one of the reasons we do this, is because it takes ego strength to put your writing out there and have someone read it, things like that. How do you do criticism without sounding how to be constructive rather than very hypercritical, things like that. So we work on that. The next thing is you're going to start your electronic portfolio in 490. And what you should do, if you're smart, because it'll save you time, is after each class, you should be taking your reflections and keep reflecting on your learning in each class that you take. You should look at the assignments that you've worked on in each class and where do you think is a good reflection of you having achieved well on some of the learning outcomes for the higher education program, as well as what are some of the artifacts and the assignments and things where you think it showed well. So if you ever have to go up for a job interview or something and you've never, let's see, you've never done anything in philanthropy before, but you're going for a fundraising position, so you put out, you can show, I took a class and I planned this philanthropy plan in a class, and so you can show that, so that you can show that you've at least learned things. In enrollment management, you might be able to show how you came up with a plan, things like that. So keeping those artifacts as you go through the program will make your life easier when you get to the capstone, because in the capstone, that's exactly what you need to go back and do. So in 490, you will visit, have they gotten the learning outcomes yet, Fred?
Yeah, they've done an initial self-assessment.
Okay.
And then they'll do another self-assessment next week.
Okay. All right. So you will get that again in the capstone, where I will ask you, okay, now that you've been through 10 courses, where do you think you are? What do you still have to evolve to? And then you have to put together in your e-portfolio the examples of how you think you've shown certain things. And you also do a presentation on that. And then sprinkled throughout the capstone, there are a lot of other discussions and little things like integrity, what's your negotiating style, what's plagiarism, all sorts of things like that for launching you. I mean, most of you are working professionals, but for changing and going on further in your degree. The other thing I do is that I have you do an alternative career, because like if you came into this thinking, I want to be an academic advisor, I want to be an academic advisor, I do everything for academic advising, and you get out there and you apply for academic advisor positions and positions and positions and positions and aren't getting them, I want you to have at least some thought about, okay, if I don't get an academic advisor position, what else can I do with what I've got? So that's why I have you choose just one out of like higheredjobs.com, and then write a cover letter and how you would tailor everything that you've done to that alternative career. Okay, those are my thoughts. Questions about the capstone, questions about interacting with your academic advisor? Yes, sir, Tom.
Yeah, I've got a question for you. Being that I've worked in television all my life and I've done everything with a video camera, am I allowed to do some of my research on camera with people and include that in my 15 to 20 page report?
Certainly.
So I can have little video clips in there, and
yep.
That's awesome.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
I'm pretty easygoing about all this stuff. So,
thank you very much.
And Tom, you might be interested. There's one of my people out of who's a football videographer, took a pretty interesting class on social media and how to use social media for interaction and learning and marketing, basically, I suppose, if you're interested in that. So
yeah, I wrote that down.
Okay.
So
all right.
thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Others? Jonathan's okay. Abby, you're okay. I can't see Alice and Gwen.
Here, I'm good.
Okay.
That was Alice.
Okay. So then I will go on and tell you that, because since this is, KP's drumbeat that she does a lot, is I'm all about work-life balance. So if you take 3 classes a term and you're working full-time, I have a little talk with you. If you take 4 or 5 classes, we have a long talk about whether you've taken a leave of absence from your work and are living, in a yurt by yourself with no one bothering you. Do you just have internet access and stuff like that? It can be done. I don't recommend it. Most people tend to have problems with their grade point average after that. So there are some who have done it. I would put you in touch with them about how they've balanced all the things, but they have been on leaves of absence from their primary job. The other thing that I'll say, since I've got you captive and it's only, and then I'll turn it over to Allie so she can talk about mentoring and professional networking, is that I said this to you in your initial advising calls. Everybody in this program is really, really high achieving. Okay, you're all really, really good at what you do. You're all working professionals. You think you can handle it all, but in our lives, we've got work, we've got classes, and then we almost always have some combination of children, elderly parents. Our health can go bad, and you got Fred and me here to show you that we've both lived through cancer scares and ongoing cancer, so we know how that can happen. And then there's the nice when someone takes a new job in your office, and all of a sudden, instead of having your own job, you have 2 or 3 jobs now, and you're trying to juggle all of that. So we have to keep in mind that you need contingency planning, okay? And the other thing about being high achieving is that we all think, well, just this, give me a weekend and I'll get it caught up. It'll be fine. I'll get it caught up now. And then, I thought I could do that, and my dog got stung by hornets, so I had to spend an entire day in the vet, so and then you kind of get, well, because I'm high achieving and I think about how I myself respond to this, I think, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I didn't get this done. I'm ashamed. I start trying to hide and not talking to anyone. That is probably the worst thing ever to do, okay? Because your faculty members, your instructors, me for your program, we worry more about you than about your assignments, okay? So we can see it when you drop off and aren't doing anything in discussion boards and aren't communicating. Mostly we're concerned about you, and so that's the reason to communicate with us. Your instructors, are very understanding. Explain to them what's going on. They might give you an extension on an extension. You might lose some late points, but you might get most of the points for the assignment. So don't hide under a rock when things aren't going well. The other thing is keep in touch with me, especially if things are just really, in a kerfuffle in your life, because we have options, okay? But if I don't know what's going on in your life, I can't figure out which option might work for you. So if you get most of the way through a course and you've done all that work, but then everything goes to hell in a handbasket in your life, we can give you a deferred grade, but if I don't know about that, I can't help you work on that, okay? So, and I want you've done all this work, I want to preserve the work you've done. Now, if you only did 3 weeks in the term and then something happened and you drop off the face of the earth, I have different options that I can try and work to try and help you. But if I don't know about it, I can't do anything about it, okay? So please communicate with us. We care about you. We want you to do well. I don't know how else to say it. Thoughts? Okay, well, after all that lecturing, I'm going to turn it over to Allie. She'll be a lot more fun than me.
I don't know if that's possible, but thank you for for giving me an opportunity to speak. And it's been a pleasure working with all of you so far this semester. Going along with what KP said, I have a little notebook here where I have some notes. There's actually some research that shows that those who initiate mentorship relationships are significantly more likely to be successful in making those relationships. And that seems pretty intuitive, but I think along with what KP is saying about reaching out to your instructors, if you reach out, you're going to have a far better experience than if you don't, and those relationships are more likely to be formed. So I'm here to talk with you all a little bit about mentorship today, and I am a big fan of class participation, which I know can be challenging sometimes online, but we're going to give it a go. So what I want you all to do for a second is think for me about somebody that you look up to, somebody who maybe is a role model for you, or somebody that you'd like to get to know better, somebody who's made an impact on your life, either personally or professionally, or somebody that you think could make an impact on your life. And you have an opportunity here. Either you can write it in the chat function, which is down on the bottom right corner of your screen, or if somebody, one or two people, want to share with the group with the microphone, I'd be happy to let somebody take over the mic. Cheryl Kaplan is a great mentor. And tell me about why Cheryl Kaplan is a great mentor. Are there specific characteristics that Cheryl possesses?
Hey, this is Jenny. I just thought it'd be easier to go ahead and chat.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cheryl is a fellow colleague with me in the development office here at Penn State, and she is a sounding board and someone who I can trust with any bit of information. Truly, she's a vault. I can tell her anything and bounce ideas off of her, and sort of this zone, this comfort zone that we have with each other, and it's been fantastic.
And Jenny, do you remember the moment, or can you identify a moment where your relationship with Cheryl became a mentorship relationship?
I asked her if I had just started, and I said, I just feel like I have a connection. Could we meet every other week? If you have time, I don't want to impose. And she said, oh my gosh, absolutely. This would be great. And I think that we're both gaining things from this relationship. And it's been really great. We just both make the time to meet with each other, whether it's for coffee, for lunch, whatever it is. It's been wonderful.
I'm pretty sure that you are reading out of my notebook. You just hit on 3 or 4 facts or points that I'm going to talk about toward the end of this. Does somebody else want to share an example of a mentor that they have, or somebody maybe that they'd like to have a mentor relationship with? Okay,
I kind of have one.
Go ahead.
It's with Dr. Eric Cordy here at Penn State Barron. Just like Jenny said, he's somebody that I could talk to. He listens to me. I've had some problems getting into this program, and some scary things for me. I haven't been in the classroom for 26 years, and I was wigging out a little bit. And he was somebody that I could talk to, and he was just a wonderful person. And like Jenny said, that he said that to me that he's always available whenever he needs to talk, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful person. And I'm so glad that I have him in my life.
Thank you for sharing, Tom. So the research that I'm talking about today, while it may sound like I'm just saying intuitive things, it actually comes from a book based on a study, and the book is called Getting Mentored in Graduate School. And the premise of the book is that when you're a graduate student, what you require from a mentor is very different than maybe what you needed as a professional or as an undergraduate. Even if you already have a mentor, what the author suggests is that you want people that are able to help you at this specific point in your life, that are able to help understand your field or give you good advice related to the position that you're in today as a graduate student. So that's kind of where this research comes from. Some of the benefits of mentorship that they talk about, which again are a bit intuitive, but I think some of them are a bit surprising, are things like sponsorship, exposure, and visibility. So a mentor might be able to connect you to a different position, or to help you conduct research, or to help get you better known at your institution or online or at another institution. They could be a great role model. They could provide counseling and support, which both of the 2 examples touched on a bit, friendship, and then also skills development. I think it's really important to note that there are 2 different types of mentorships that you could pursue. One would be the formal mentorship, which would be where somebody is that person for you, and you go to them maybe once a week or once a month to ask them questions, and maybe that's not as friendship based. Whereas informal is also a possibility, where if you have a question, you're able to email them or ask them something quickly without having that specific meeting time. One of the things that I think is probably worth noting about my background is that my research is on online students. And so when I interview online students over and over again, I hear students talking about having those really bad professors, or those good experiences, or the people that they just kind of get along with or don't get along with, and how those individual experiences really color their overall experience as an online student. But I think related to what KP was saying before and how I started this, it is your responsibility too to make sure that you make those relationships that help you to be successful. Because if you do take one class and that class maybe isn't for you, how are you going to know that there are other classes out there? Or how are you going to know which classes you could pursue that will be more meaningful for you? And that's really a good opportunity for a mentor to step in. In terms of how to find mentors and ways to engage in mentorship, I think of it as 3 different levels. So your first level is local, and that would be individuals like your faculty members or other students. It could be a student that's studying online. It could be a student that recently studied online. It could also be a student that studies residentially. And we can really help you to make those connections. So let's say that you are really interested in administration and governance. I could think of 2 faculty members right now that I would connect you to. Or if you're interested in economics, I could think of another faculty member or a handful of students who may be interested. If you're interested in education and sociology, a faculty member just walked by that I might introduce you to and connect you with. And I think both KP and Fred would echo me in stating that the faculty here are absolutely willing and eager to help foster those relationships and to work with the online students as well. Another level would be kind of above local. We have an alumni council. It's called HEPAC. And those are members that were residential, but we also have online students that are alumni to our programs who are eager to interact with students as well and could answer questions, whether it be about the program, whether it be about different professions. And again, we can help you make those connections. And then the third one, which I think is really important, and I think that it's hard to know about as well, is the national opportunities for mentorship and professional networking. So in the chat box for a second, does anybody know for the field that they're interested in what the national association for your field would be? You could use the microphone too if you'd like, and it's okay if you don't know.
Hi, this is Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
I'm in fundraising, so we have a number of national organizations for fundraising professionals.
Okay. So for me, I came from a student affairs background, and the 2 organizations that are predominantly student affairs are NASPA and ACPA. And they have national conferences that you could attend and make relationships at those. And they also have mentoring opportunities there where they'll connect you to somebody prior to going to the conference. There's also online webinars and online opportunities and conferences where you could connect with people as well. So we have another one. We have an admissions counselors organization as well. So those are opportunities that you may not be aware of. That would be a great way to identify people who could provide you with more information or more touch points within your field of interest. On top of that, in terms of how to find a good mentor, I'm going to post something in the chat real quick, which I'm also going to talk about. And this is going to touch on some of those different topics that I heard your peers speaking about prior. Okay. So step 1, ask questions of those around you and see if you could find individuals that you feel would be a good fit for you. Mentorship relationships should be both personal and professional. So if you don't feel like you're going to get along with them on a personal level, they may not be the right mentor for you. Although you may be able to still benefit from forming that relationship with them. But ideally, you want somebody that you feel fits for you personally and professionally. So after you ask questions, take some time to observe. Think about what traits what traits there are that you're looking for in a mentor. Are there people that fit the bill? For me, I'm looking for somebody who's willing to give me feedback. I'm looking for somebody who's willing to debate things with me that I could use to kind of have conversations if I'm not sure how I feel about something. So I would look for people that would challenge me. I might look for people who are really willing to take the time to provide that feedback. Step 3 would be introduce yourself and ask others to help you to connect. So you may be able to just walk up to that person or to send them an email. Maybe after this meeting, KP feels like somebody you really connected with. Taking a couple minutes to write out an email to her that thanks her for coming today and then states that you maybe have a quick conversation with her or ask her a couple questions would be a good step there. You could also ask us to help connect you. So maybe after this meeting, you send Fred an email and you say to Fred, I really enjoyed KP's lesson today. Could you help connect the 2 of us? And I'm certain that Fred would be willing to do that. The next step would be to create opportunities to interact with that individual. Can you be intentional in establishing a relationship with that person? Now, I realize that being an online student means that sometimes it may feel a little less organic to find those opportunities to connect with that person. Maybe you see an article. KP actually did it to me today. She saw an article related to my research and forwarded it to me and said, isn't this something that you might be interested in? That could be an opportunity. Sending them a message and saying, again, I really appreciated what you spoke about here, or I have a couple questions for you based on something that I think you might have knowledge in, would be another way to do it. The next step, which Jenny spoke about, would be formalizing the mentorship, setting a meeting with that person, taking the time to be straightforward in what your intentions are. Feels a little weird at times to say, like, will you be my mentor? But it is a good question to ask because it helps you to establish that relationship and for them to know what it is that you're looking to get out of it. You also want to give that person an opportunity to decline. Chances are they won't decline, but you do want to give them that opportunity. I have a couple more thoughts for you, just 2 or 3 that I think are worth mentioning. Again, online, I realize that sometimes it may feel more challenging to reach out and make those relationships. But being an online student, it's likely even more important that you have those relationships, that you take steps to make sure that you don't feel isolated, that you take steps to make sure that you're getting out of your program what it is that you should be getting. As a student residentially, it may seem like a student could just go into a faculty member's office or walk across campus and find an administrator, but they are also trying to make those relationships through emails and things like that as well. The only difference is the physical presence. But I've worked with countless faculty members here. I've worked with administrators as well, and they are absolutely willing and excited about online education, which means that the second that you email them, they're going to be willing and ready to have those conversations with you. The other thing that really stood out to me in the research is that mentorship should be reciprocal. And what that means is that you can't just have a mentor that you reach out to and ask questions to, but you also want to make sure that you're asking them how their day is, that you're following up with them, that you're developing a relationship with them so that they're gaining something out of it as well, which mentoring in itself is something that's exciting and that they're gaining something from. But I'm sure we all can think of experiences where we've been in a one-sided friendship or a one-sided relationship. And that's hard, especially for individuals who may have multiple mentors. So just be cognizant of that and try to take time to get to know your mentor and to be able to support them back. The other thing which comes from my research is be comfortable asking for what you need. So I had a student, an undergraduate student who I interviewed, who talks about at the beginning of her class every semester, she would call all of her faculty members and say to them, "Hi, my name is so-and-so. I want you to know who I am. I also want you to pay attention to what I am like as a student, because at some point I may need a letter of recommendation from you. And I want you to know how I work as a student and to be prepared for when I make that call or make that request." I thought that was a really thoughtful thing that she did. And it really does give her the opportunity when she does need that letter of recommendation to stand out and for that instructor to be prepared to give that letter and to speak positively. The same goes for feedback. If you need help with something, you should ask for it. And, KP is a great example. She's read all of my research countless times because I've asked her. And I haven't asked her multiple times. I've asked her once and she's done it. And that's what I needed from a mentor. And she was able to provide that to me. Same goes for connections. If there are opportunities where individuals can help connect you, even if it's just KP who you've interacted with for a couple minutes here, or me who I understand that y'all have interacted with me even less than you have KP or Fred, that's what we're here for, and we're excited to help. So you should be comfortable asking, because on the other side, we're sitting here eager to get those emails and eager to help make those connections as well. So I'm cognizant of time, so I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to give an opportunity if anybody has any questions or anything that they'd like to add. I'm sure all of you have had some experiences making relationships with mentors, so I'm sure that some of you can also provide some really good information to your peers as well. If not, I will turn it back over. Is this going to Fred right now?
KP,
Yeah, I had something.
Oh,
Do you
go
want?
ahead.
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead, KP.
Well, we can all just talk all over each other. How about that? One of the things that most of you know and have joined, let me get in here. I'm going to put it in the chat box, is we have a Facebook group there. I'm sending you there. there. So if that's one of the places where, you know, people share ideas. If you want to ask about electives, people who are new to the program tend to ask, like, how do you study? How do you approach this sort of stuff? What do you think about the, so there's stuff in there. The other thing is, Tom, do you get together with the other folks at Barron? Are you part of that group? Because we have quite a few students from Barron, and it's my understanding that once in a while they get together for coffee and other stuff. And I have somebody else in the Erie area that, you know, I've told about the Barron, these people at Barron who all get together. But I've got, you know, so we have students around the country, and so you know, like in Florida, I've got a whole bunch in Florida, and so they run into each other, they see each other in different places. So admissions folks, when they're at some of the fairs, they see each other, stuff like that. So Facebook is a good way to find out, you know, who's going to NASPA, who's going to be here, who's going to be there, that sort of stuff, to make connections. Okay, sorry, that was what I had to say.
Right. No, I just wanted to add, KP, that everyone in the course has done an informational interview. And Ali, I think to your point, you know, how do you get the conversation started? And one thing you might want to do is just say, hey, I'm a graduate student. I'd like to interview you for my program. And because you had to do one informational interview, it doesn't mean that you can't do more than one in this course and throughout the program. And I think all that data that you collect will be helpful in the capstone as well. Give you a perspective for some of the assignments that KP talked about. Maybe you end up collecting data that you can use for your capstone paper. So I would say that would be another way to do it. You know, you already know like how to set that up. You were all amazingly successful and resourceful. Some of you really stretched to interview people that you hadn't met before because you were interested in what they were doing, particularly high-level people. And those are always the people that have like a wealth of experience. And if you aspire to be a leader, it's good to talk to a provost or a vice president about that particular field. So I would use that informational interview protocol as a door opener, and maybe that leads to an ongoing relationship because from that you know a lot about that person, and hopefully you've had a chance to share a little bit about yourself too. And then the other thing I would say, Ali, you know, you've done a wonderful job of showing people how to develop a mentoring relationship. But I hope that all of our students end up becoming mentors, either in the program as you progress and help out some first-year students. And the 490 course, Ali, you'll know, since you get to know people pretty well and they're progressing, and you might be advising them with KP, you can refer that student to that upperclassman or that recent alum. And then the other thing I've lost track of, Ali, we had, you know, KP and I also served on the alumni council. So, and I'm sure at some point, Ali, you'll get roped into that too in one way or another. But it really is a great experience to be on that council. And all those people have volunteered to be responsive to you should you call or contact them. So we've got a list of people on their contact information, areas of expertise. I've lost that in my transition, my computer, but you can dig that up, and we should probably share that with you before the end of the course. So you have that ready list of alumni that you can contact, and they'll probably refer you to other people that they know in the field or other alums. So it's that area, you know, that network that you develop, and you have then multiple mentors. But I think that key relationship, it takes time to cultivate that and to get it going and to keep it going. But you'll probably have multiple mentors. And then I hope that you all become mentors to either students or professionals or certainly undergraduate students that you work with in the future. Great job, Ali. I'll turn it back to you, KP, for the
Okay, I have three things. One, HISA, which is the Higher Education Student Association, in the past has created mentors. Ali was a mentor to one of our online students. I'm the advisor for for HISA, so I will check. I'm not sure if they're doing that this year, but I will double check if they're doing that. And if they, I mean, we send that out to the MED students, the online MED students, so you could do that. The other thing is that with regard to HEPAC, I have also talked to the folks at HEPAC about adding, now that we've been going, because the online program only really started in fall 2014, so we didn't really have any graduates until more recently. So about putting an actual position on HEPAC that would be an online graduate. So there would be that. And because you can come in and using Zoom or whatever for those meetings, you don't have to physically be here. A lot of people just do them from their homes. The last thing I wanted to ask you is, I realized on the PowerPoint it had things about internships. Do you want me to do, 4 minutes on about internships?
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be great.
All right. We don't require people to have internships. If you haven't worked within higher education, it wouldn't be a bad thing for you to do an internship. Internships are, there are some virtual internships that you can go for through the World Campus, but for the most part, because everyone is so distributed in different areas, what we say is you as a student would go to a local institution, whatever it is. It might be the one you work in, it might not. And you go to the unit that you're interested in learning more about. What we don't want is, we don't want you doing an internship in the same area that you're already in. Okay, so I've got people who've worked in different parts of student services, so that if they're in financial aid, they might go do something in career services, something like that. But and if you're in, I've had people in alumni affairs who were like only in the volunteering side of alumni affairs, but then went and worked with a different, so it has to be substantively different from what you do every day in your job. Okay, so you would go to a supervisor of a unit that you were interested in. Okay, let's say it was financial aid, and say that you're interested in doing an internship for them. Okay, first of all, they should be thrilled because that's free labor for them. Okay, so they like that. The second thing is that how many hours? For you, we want you to do about 10 hours per week. Now, that doesn't have to happen between 8 and 5. Most of the time when you're given a presenting problem or something to do in the unit that you approach, it's usually a problem that their normal staff doesn't have enough time to get to. So it might be looking at best practices for a new way to do a procedure, might be looking at various policies and how to, other places looking. So it's a lot of sort of desk and online research that you could do at night as well. Okay, so that's what's required of you. The supervisor will probably want to know what we need from them. Basically, they need to meet with you, for an hour a week or an hour every 2 weeks to make sure that you're making Gesundheit, that you're making progress on your internship. Okay, so that's setting up with the local person in the local unit. If you need me, we can always do a letter if they want to know, is this on the up and up? Are you very, I'm here, I can do a call, I can assure them, I can talk to them or whatever if they need that. So far, nobody's needed that, but who knows? The next thing is that then you as a student will sign up for higher education 595. It'd help if I could get the number right. 595, and in that course you're led through various reflections on what you're learning in your internship, how it either matches or doesn't match with what you've learned theoretically and in the classes, and you also do some times together with other people who are in internships that term as well, to kind of process what you're learning and all that kind of stuff. And then Fred's been teaching the 595 class. Fred, what have I missed that you do in the 590 in the internship class?
No, it's just a lot of sharing with each other. And the focus is on the experience that you're getting, but also understanding why experiential learning is so important, and then sharing with each other so that there's you get the benefit of being part of a group, and you're learning a little bit about what the experience was like of another student who's doing an internship at the same time. So and then a reflection paper, major reflection paper at the end of the course. But yeah, I'm a big believer. I did an internship as an undergraduate, and really changed my life in very significant ways. So I'm a big believer in that. And, 10 hours a week, it's like taking another course. But, and if you can get time off, you can negotiate with your supervisor a little bit of time off to do this as kind of a job enlargement strategy, that would be great. But if you're trying to transition to another area or break into a new area, so maybe like disability services, to do an internship, volunteer internship in that office would be a great thing to add to your resume, and then could lead to either a reference or maybe a job offer in that unit down the road. So I'm a big, besides the fact that I'm teaching the course, I think KP, it's a good thing to do. And again, the focus is on the time on task of the internship and then reflecting on that. So a little less content, well, probably a lot less content in the course and more of a focus on the experience and reflecting then on that experience.
Well, because you're supposed to be doing work. So that's part of the, so you sign up for those 3 credits.
Yeah.
So questions about internships? Okay.
I mean, the other thing you could do is volunteer, right? KP, so if you don't want to do it for credit because you want to take a content course, in your spare time, you could volunteer to be on a task force or do some community work, be on a nonprofit board, something like that. But I know most of you don't have that spare time right now. So
Yeah, that's very targeted. So that is all that I had to talk about tonight. And Allie, do you have anything, any last words, good for the order, all that kind of stuff? Well, where we are. You know my email address, I hope. If you don't, Fred will give it to you. I'll give it to you. And if you ever have any questions, and like Alice has a call into me and I know I need to talk to her, and I am always busy, so I will sometimes, unlike Allie, I don't have 0 inbox. It will send me, it's okay to send me nudges. Hey KP, did you get the email I sent you 3 days ago? I need an answer. I'm perfectly fine with that. So be gentle with me. I'm gentle with you, and we'll all get through this together. So welcome to the program. We're really, really happy to have you all in it. So
Thank you.
have a good night.
thanks.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. You too.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.